now with a kid, it's great. With the zoo, and there's tons of parks. They have a library, like all these great things. So my family loves it. But I don't know. I've just played pretty well here, and it's a really tough test of golf. But it's just like a historic golf course. Tiger has thousands of highlights from here, so I just feel like you've seen it as a kid growing up so many times. It's always fun to come to a place like that.
Are any of those moments kind of stick out to you, especially as it relates to Tiger and just some of the memories he's made here over the years?
Yeah, a lot. It's very hard to pitch around here. The rough's really thick, and the greens all run towards the one direction, towards the other side of the green, off the rough into the water. And he's holed out like 700 times. So I'm just not that good at aiming. But there's just tons of those kinds of highlights. The 11th hole, he's had. Everyone's seen the 2 irons and all that, so it's just crazy.
Awesome. All right, take questions. Dylan, you want to go ahead? I'll get a mic to you in a minute.
Max, do you feel like the golf course is playing harder this year than other times you've been here? Or
Yeah,
it's just always hard?
It is always hard. It does feel like that. It'll be interesting to see the scores the next couple days to measure it, because the last few years I've been here, I feel like it's just been incredibly firm, and that's been the test. With such difficult greens, it's been impossible to leave the ball in a good spot at times. But this year, the rough feels like a U.S. Open a bit more. I had a couple lies today that you're just trying to get it 70 yards down the fairway, and then you have to deal with. The greens are still relatively firm, so I'll be interested to see. Usually, when we get rain and some kind of soft, it isn't. It's a birdie fest. I don't believe it will be, but you could see somebody. I think if they drove it really well for a day, you could get hot. I just don't know if you could do that for 4 days, but that'll be interesting to see.
Okay, just get a mic up here to the front row.
Max, can you just talk about kind of what this tournament means to a lot of the players, why it's so special, and kind of how you've gotten to know Jack over the years and seen what this means to him as well?
Yeah, I think everybody has their, as a kid, favorite tournament, whether it's in your hometown, that's how mine kind of started, or an event you've gone to a lot, or one that you just happen to watch, with your parents or whatever. But then there's 3 that stick out amongst above them all, in my opinion. It's the 3 with the 3 legends of the game who have tied their name to an event. So obviously having Jack Nicklaus's name on an event at his as they call it, Jack's place, is a massive deal. I think even if you're not a historian of the game, that name speaks loudly or in volumes, and it's been a venue that I think all of us on tour have just seen hundreds of times on TV. It's always had just incredible finishes or incredible winners, and I just think those 3 events in particular just stand out because of who's tied. And obviously, when you have the greatest major champion of all time, it's pretty awesome. And like I said, the city shows out for this tournament. Today is crazy out there, and the weather's not very good, so it's impressive. So I think all those things combined make it such a desirable tournament to compete in.
When you talk about all that he's accomplished and legendary status, like you say, now that you're playing it and you're going through it and the grind, do you kind of grow to appreciate more what guys like him and Tiger have accomplished? Do you kind of sit there and be like, wow, this is really hard to do now that you're actually living in it? Yeah,
for sure. The one I usually use is the Tiger's 142 cuts. Not to say before I didn't think that was incredible, but I played 1 year on tour and realized that is an impossible feat, nearly. It didn't seem real after getting to experience it. So, Jack Nicklaus's 18 majors is incredible. I can obviously never picture that one. But, I think he's got 19 seconds, so 37 top 2s in a major. I think that's more top 10s than I've had on tour in my whole career. And not to say I've had this illustrious career, but that's just hard to fathom. And that's just in majors, 4 chances a year. So there's things that stick out more than just the wins, and it's just the longevity and the consistency of that is, that's what you see with great players, but then there's a couple or a few legends, and you see why.
I'm just going to hear Rob.
Yeah, Max, you just mentioned Tiger and Jack, 2 of probably the most mentally strong players who have played the game. Is golf more of a mental or physical challenge would you say? And for you personally, which one's harder to master or try to master?
The physical is much harder to master. There's a blueprint on how to like mentally approach a week and to put yourself in the right headspace. I do think that people like a Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods, rightfully so, get dubbed as the mentally toughest and strongest and all those things out there, but I do think it helps that they're really good at golf. I'm sure Webb Simpson sticks out in my mind. He's had a really good career. He's never going to be talked about in the Jacks and Tigers, of the game when he ends his career, but that's one of the most positive people I've been around. Peter Malnati's like that. You wouldn't know what they shot if you were following them. If you missed like in the first 8 holes, they could be 10 over and they would be doing the same stuff. So I think you do get more credit for it when you win a bunch of majors. Not to say that that's not a massive part of why they dominated. I do think it's very impressive when people like them too, you see what Scotty's doing, what Rory's done for his career, that they, I think Scotty and my generation is the best I've seen at it. He's really amazing. You can watch it. I think it's more impressive in a way because he could give up a lot of weeks, and just like last week, he did not need to grind for whatever he got 4th place. We all know he's good. Life's good, but he does, and I think that to me is the most impressive. Not to say other people don't have that, but like just where he is in the game, and where Tiger's been and where Jack's been, it's just like to keep doing that year after year is amazing.
Let's go back over here.
Max, the event that you did last night with the Chipotle headquarters, like, what does it mean to be able to collaborate with like your favorite thing and also give back to some high school kids who, want to be like Max Homa?
Yeah, that was a super pinch me moment. Very lucky. 2 people sitting behind you have helped quite a bit. It's a dream to play on tour. It's probably a bigger dream for me to be friends with the CEO of Chipotle, to be quite honest. Since college on Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley, I have been going to that place just religiously. So it's crazy to think that we're doing things, together. But yeah, then you add in, all the volunteers were there, which is really cool, or most of the volunteers were there, which was really cool to get to put a face to all the hard work. And then, getting to meet, anytime you get to meet up-and-coming golfers, high school especially, it's awesome because, one, you put yourself back in their shoes and just like, you realize now like how much there is to learn and enjoy with golf, whether you play it professionally or not, and then also just to feel like, it's just still like makes me laugh that a kid will be like excited, especially like, we know how it is, like 16-year-olds are too cool for school, so when they get excited to get Chipotle and take a picture with me, it's I have to pinch myself a little bit.
We'll go back over to Dylan.
Where are you at with your golf game and I guess general vibes going into this week? I know there's a lot of good stuff at the PGA and probably some other stuff too.
Yeah, I think since Philly Cricket Club for the Truists, my thoughts have been a lot more organized about what I'm doing with my golf swing. I don't feel like I have this like disaster golf. I played really poorly the weekend, the PGA, but it didn't feel like I left there thinking that I needed to fix a whole lot. It's just there's little things, Saturday exposed me in the wind, but it wasn't like some major overhaul. I've left most weeks this season being like, what do I fix? What do I fix? And the last event, I just felt like I just needed to clean a lot of things up. It didn't feel as bad as the score did, which most weeks have felt worse than the score was, and the score was very bad. So it feels good. I hit a really good 5-iron yesterday on 17. So it feels much better. It feels really like, it looks and feels a lot like my old golf swing, like my favorite version of my golf swing. So it's, with some time, I get more comfortable with misses. I get on tees like number 2 here has never suited my eye, not even when I was playing like the best golf of my life. So it's kind of nice to get on that tee and still feel that discomfort, but have a plan of what I'm going to do instead of just hoping that the ball goes straight. So it's definitely been it's not been fun, but I do see fun days ahead, which gives me, just makes it a little bit lighter, I guess. I guess a lot of the weeks early in the year just felt like if I don't play well this week, like then what? And this week the last few weeks it felt more like, okay, if I don't play well this week, it'll be another week. So I think that's been a big change.
I guess. Yeah. Go ahead, Dylan.
What do you make of the new Tour Championship format?
I like it. there's a ton of things you could do to it. I have hated for a while how so much of it is tied into the money, and I mean that on the fans side. Like I just don't know why you would care. So to make it about the competition and to make it about winning something and not cultivating it to like make sure that the guy who had the best year is gonna probably win. Like I just never made a lot of sense. I'm a fan of so many other sports, and I know we're not exactly like them, but the storylines that come with the Warriors losing after having the best season of all time, the history of the Patriots losing to the Giants after being undefeated, like those are things that we hold on to, and it's not to take away from their season. It's just you just got to keep earning it. So I really like everyone's starting even. It's still incredibly hard to make it to that final 30. It is the sign of an amazing year. So if you're there, you should have a chance at the title, in my opinion. So I like what they've done. Again, there's a million different things you could do, but just starting at zero is easier to digest. And I don't know, it just felt like before, if you got to the Tour Championship at even or 1 under, even one year I played great all year, and I think I started like 6 back of Scotty, and it's like it just is didn't feel hyper competitive, and it just feels like every year you would end up with 2 or 3 people on the weekend had a chance, and that's not exciting. So I'm just glad we're back to golf as we kind of know it. And I think that it will produce a lot more excitement in what should be our, most exciting event.
Okay, Colin, right here.
Max, Barber is about to be honored as the honoree. Can you speak to the inspiration that Jack and Barbara are to families on tour as a husband and a father yourself? And is there any advice that you and Lacey have ever received from the Nicklauses?
We have not. I've never been. I'm not a Florida guy, so it's hard to get close to Mr. or Mrs. Nicklaus. I've gotten to speak with them, but just about golf. But I think it's amazing. The term "it takes a village" that starts at least in my life and in this game with my wife, especially when you have a kid like today. For instance, I woke up very early. Got to the course before everybody was up, so that means she's up with my son on a 3-hour time change. Getting him dressed, getting him fed. She brought him here. He came here, wanted to putt, wasn't allowed to putt, had a fit. She has to take him away, and then I just go back to work. And work is different in my world. Work is my dream. Like, this is what I like to do. And she's, loves to take care of my kid, but I imagine that gets exhausting at some point all by herself. So to see, obviously we all get to see what Jack Nicklaus has done. We all admire him. His career is incredible. Him hosting this event has been incredible. What he's done in the sport, designing golf courses, is incredible. But there is a very important person standing right next to him that it feels very fitting that she gets honored, because I don't think it happens quite as often as it should. And I'm sure she is hopefully having a great time with that and a great day and week with that, because it's well deserved. And again, as someone who doesn't even know what they go through on a day-to-day basis, obviously I know ish what it's like, and she has done a ton, and his career is amazing, but she's been amazing as well.
All right. I think that's a great place to leave it. Thanks for the time, Max.
Thank you all
Best
very
luck
much.
this week.
All right.